everyone, this is Samya and welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the most common problem of every English learner. So this is the most frequent question people ask, that I don't have English environment, or I don't have anybody whom I can practice my speaking English, or I don't have anybody who can help me to improve my English. And I know that learning English becomes very difficult if this would be the condition. And I can completely relate myself with you, because once upon a time I was also struggling with this. I was also going through the same path. And I know that it is such a big issue, because in order to become fluent in English, you must have to practice speaking in English as much as you can. But you are only surrounded with people who speak your mother tongue and you are already good at it. But the problem is, if you do not get the surrounding of people who can help you to speak in English as much as you can, then it becomes very difficult to learn English and even be able to speak in English fluently. But let me tell you something, that it is just a myth that if you don't have anybody, then you can't become fluent in English. I mean, definitely you need to have somebody, but if you don't have anybody, then you can still become fluent in English. Isn't it unbelievable? Now you may be thinking that what the heck this girl is talking about. How can a person improve his or her English without having anybody? So before I get into the topic, that what has helped me to become fluent in English without having anybody, I would like to tell about myself, that what is my background and where I actually come from. So I come from a background where literally not even a single person speaks in English. Like, you can't find anybody speaking in English, and if people caught you speaking in English, they would look at you as if you do not belong to this planet. So it was very easy for me to accept that I live in a place where English is not a prior language for people, but I couldn't have stopped myself because of it. I had to find a way to do something or other, and I did it. Well, I knew that I had to do something or other, but I did not know what to do and how to do anything, because none of my friends and none of my family members were able to speak in English. So there was one thing very clear, that whatever I have to do to improve my English, I will have to do everything just by myself. So I still remember the first reaction of my brother when he got to know that I am able to speak in English. He was really shocked, because for him, a girl who has completed her entire academic education in Hindi medium now started speaking in English was really very different. And it is unbelievable for a lot of people. What I'm trying to say here is, it's perfectly fine not to have anybody whom you can practice your speaking English. That's perfectly fine. You can do everything just by yourself. So yeah, it may take some extra time, but it's better to do something or other rather than doing nothing and crying over your situation, that why did it happen and what you're going to do now. First of all, you will have to trust me that whatever steps I am about to share with all of you, all of them have worked for me, and that's why I'm sharing these things with all of you. Because if something has worked for me, then it may help you too. But I can't assure you that it will definitely help you, even though if you do not put effort continuously and with consistency. So all the steps which I'm going to share with all of you, I have tried all of them for a very long time, and I got such a positive result, because it made me fluent in English. And there's one thing I would like to mention, that please do not forget to be consistent while following these steps, because consistency is everything. If you have not been followed something with consistency, then I can't assure you that it will help you or not. So without further delay, let's get started. My first step is mirror talk. This is one of the simplest and easy way to practice speaking English, just by having mirror conversation with yourself. I know it sounds weird, but it's not actually. I mean, you will become comfortable with it after repeating it several times. I still remember those days were my initial days of learning English. So before I start speaking in front of mirror, I always used to set a timer for myself for 10 minutes or for 15 minutes. So I used to decide that I'm going to speak for 5 minutes in front of mirror, or I'm going to speak for 10 minutes in front of mirror. But it was really awkward. I always used to look at my watch, that why time is not passing. So what exactly I used to do? before I start speaking in front of mirror, I always used to switch on the fan and cooler so that my voice would not reach to others. So in the beginning, I was really very afraid or worried about being made fun of by others, although I was surrounded with only by my family members, but it was very awkward and uncomfortable for me to speak in front of somebody. So this is the process I still follow, because now I became very comfortable with it and I got habitual of it. So I'm somebody who has followed mirror talk for at least 9 to 10 months continuously, and now I got accustomed of it. Now you may say that I don't have time to speak in front of mirror. So what exactly I used to do? I used to make only 5 to 10 minutes each day to speak in front of mirror. And you can easily catch the difference between you who never spoken in front of mirror and you who started speaking in front of mirror. Because in the beginning you won't be able to make proper eye contact with yourself in the mirror. But gradually you will become very comfortable with it that you won't even realize that you are talking to yourself. So this is how you can follow this process. So now let's move to the next step. So the next step is talking to your imaginary friend. So this is really very weird thing about me, that most of the time I don't need a company of others. I always create my imaginary friend who is always sitting next to me or in front of me. So this is something I have observed a lot, that whenever people are free, they easily get bored. But it never happens to me because I always feel having a company of somebody. So whenever I am alone or I don't have anything to do, I start talking to my imaginary friend. And it is really very funny. It may sound creepy to you, but it has really helped me to improve my speaking English. Well, I'm not telling you to imagine somebody who can accompany you, but what I'm trying to say here is that you can talk to yourself as if you are talking to your friend. Because after following this step, I became very comfortable with it and I talk to myself a lot. So all of my family members know that I do have this crazy habit of speaking to myself. I'm making my notes or get fed up with it, or if I'm getting my things done, or if I'm not surrounded with anybody, I would start talking to myself, and by God, I talk to myself as if I'm talking to my best friend. I would complain about things, I would talk about multiple things, I would express my opinions. There are multiple things I do, and sometimes I go on my terrace and talk to myself loudly. So there's one thing I would like to tell you, that if you have to improve your speaking English, just be a little bit shameless. It's perfectly fine not to get embarrassed on every single petty thing. So if you have to improve, you will have to follow all the steps which makes you uncomfortable. Another thing which you can do is record yourself while speaking in English. Well, recording yourself while speaking in English can be effective and incredibly beneficial for you. So you can share your thoughts, you can express your ideas, you can talk about anything, or even just pretend that you are talking to someone. Well, by saying record yourself, there are two ways of doing this. First of all, you can record your audio while speaking in English. Recording your audio while speaking in English will not only help you to find out the mispronunciation which you spoke right now, but it will also help you to understand that in which part of your English has to be improved. So this is a technique, or this is a step I have followed for several months, and it has such a positive result. There is another way of recording yourself, which is speaking in front of camera. I really love this technique. This is a technique I highly recommend you, because in my opinion, it is one of the best technique I have ever followed. Well, all the steps and tips have their own importance and advantage, but when it comes to this one, I highly recommend you to follow this one. At least follow it just for a month, and if it did not work for you, then you can stop using this technique. I am telling you because I have used this technique for more than a year, and I could see incredibly amount of changes within myself. It did not only help me to improve my English, but it made me a confident English speaker. After recording yourself, you can watch your video and analyze yourself. And while you are analyzing yourself, you are not looking at it from your perspective, but you are looking at it from someone's perspective. So at the very beginning, I was not comfortable with it and it was not making sense to me at all. But a few months later, I could see my English has improved drastically. Now you may say that if I have to speak in front of camera, then what should I speak? Then don't worry about it, because it's not an issue. You can speak whatever comes to your mind, be it expressing your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions. It could be anything. You can even describe any movie or drama which you have recently watched, or you can also talk about your days, that how did you spend your yesterday, or what about your today's plan, and what are the things you have to get done. So it is completely up to you to choose what you have to speak. So there's another thing which you can do. Well, I don't know whether you will be able to follow this one or not, but if you can, then do follow it, because it has helped me a lot to improve my English to some extent. So what you have to do, you can talk to your younger siblings or any children at home in English, but make sure that other person is listening to you, because when you have that kind of feeling that you have to perform in front of others, you are automatically going to perform better. And if you don't have younger sibling or anybody at home, then you can even talk to your elder one. That's perfectly fine. But you have to make sure that you are creating English environment for yourself no matter what. So you can try every possible thing which can help you to improve your English speaking skill. Now, before following this step or even after following this step, you may ask that what if I mispronounce something, or what if I use improper grammar, or what if I said incorrect English. So let me tell you something. As per my own experience, this is something I also struggled with. I was really struggling with this because there was not even a single person who could have corrected me. But what exactly I did, while I was following essential steps to become fluent in English, such as reading, listening, and writing, I could recognize which one is correct and which one is incorrect, whether I should be using this or that, or whether I should be using is or are. So it was natural. Like, I did not put a lot of effort to correct my mistakes. Everything became quite natural. So that's how I became fluent in English without having English environment and without having even a single person. And there's one more thing I would like to mention, that while you're following these steps, you will have to be consistent with it, because these processes are a little bit lengthy, so it will take some time. So you will have to show some persistence. So I wish you good luck for your language learning journey. I hope all of you are going to become fluent in English as soon as possible. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and interesting. So please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.